So where to begin? I think 'cause it's the first one, it'd be cool, I guess, for you to share. I think the whole thought I had about this is about self-love,
Mhm.
and for you to share firstly, like broadly, and then we can go into specifics if you want, what
Mhm.
self-love what self-love is for you right now at this moment.
Right. I think
Yeah.
self-love to me is I've realized when I started walking the journey or like exploring myself that if I didn't make coming home to who I am a positive experience, I would never return. Because I realized that every time I'd meditate, every time I would, journal, look inside, I would judge myself and I would just, remember things I did in the past and beat myself up. And it wasn't a positive experience. So I wouldn't come home to myself. I wouldn't smoke weed. And I would just run away from myself. And I think that was a lot of my life, abandoning myself, obsessing over dreams and working hard and doing all these things just to avoid myself, really. And then, you know, once I got to a point where I'm like, oh, I need to do the work. That was the kind of the first milestone for me. It was like, well, first things first, I have to stop like treating myself like shit, or else I'm not going to keep looking inside. Like it has to be love. And I think over and over again, it's just been a process of noticing on micro levels or macro levels the way that I treat myself bad and changing that, like consciously, and correcting it in a way and changing this inner voice to one of love. Yeah.
That's cool. And what do you feel like the goal, like if you were in your highest vibration of self-love, what does that look like for you?
Um, I feel like what I see is like, I feel like I look out of myself for love and fulfillment so much. And so I think in my highest vibration of self love, it would feel like I would only need to look like, I don't know, a centimeter in front of me and see that it's already there. Like it's coming straight
Yeah.
back at me or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I guess if you look at like that spectrum and that journey to that point, where do you feel like you are along there?
I definitely have a lot of work to go, and sometimes I still feel like I'm at the start, and I have to be like, "No, you've come so
Yeah.
far." Like, um, but I feel like even recently, like, just sometimes I smoke weed, and it's like a really hard experience because weed's not like a fun drug for me, like it used to be. But now it's like, okay, we're going to go deep into myself and, journey. And it's almost ceremonial for me. And it'd always be like hard at first. Like I feel like I'd see truths about myself that I was avoiding. And that's still true. But now I've noticed within the last like 6 months where as soon as I smoke weed and I enter that place, there's a voice in me that goes, welcome home. Like it's okay. Like, and that's
Mm.
been really monumental for me, like a crossover. And so I feel like I'm more on I feel like the scale has tipped and I'm more in the 50% of like the higher vibration than the lower one in a way, like just.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think like my vision of myself when I'm at that highest vibration is just like just standing tall and never like doubting myself, never, oppressing myself from within, never believing the negative thoughts I have about myself or the, other people's perceptions. I won't believe in them or give them any weight. And that's kind of like my vision, I suppose.
That's cool. And then, so what's been, I guess, in the last, I don't know how far you want to go back, but when you
Mhm.
think about your journey so far on that, so
Mhm.
what age were you? So how old are you now? You're
31.
31,
Mhm.
31, yeah. And when did you feel like you first went like click, like let's go into this like self-love shit?
I think when I was 28 is when
Yeah.
COVID hit. No, I was 27, 2020, yeah. So I was 27. And that was when COVID forced me, because I was running around overseas backpacking, and COVID forced me home. And that's when I couldn't run away from myself anymore. And that's when everything, like I made a full commitment to it. And yeah, that's when it really started. Yeah. So I'd say then 4 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what's been some of the most like profound like methods or tools or things that you've got in your toolkit for that?
I think the first thing was honestly just like forgiving myself. Like that was a really important chapter for me. And I didn't realize how much shit I was carrying. And so like I wrote down, I read this book. It's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It by Kamal Ravikant. And he has a podcast with Aubrey Marcus. It basically summarizes the whole book in an hour and a half if you don't want to read it. But it's really, really, really good because he gives like really proactive ways to like actually, like do self-love. And one of the things he said is like write down on a piece of paper, like I forgive myself for everything, like everything that comes out this moment, this moment, this moment, write it down over and over and over again until words lose all meaning. And then you burn that paper or throw it in the ocean or whatever. And that actually really helped me. And I was surprised by that. And I think there was a lot of things that I really felt like I had to make amends for. So like I reached out to people who might like, feel like I've still held guilt for situations about and, apologize to them. Some of them I probably didn't need to, but, it's what felt right at the time. And then like after that, I had like on a piece of paper, if I loved myself, what would I do? And I like had that next to my mirror. And every day I would just like constantly ask myself that. And now like in my bathroom, I like have a big gold frame mirror that I covered with like pink fur and I've spray paint on that. Like if I love myself, what would I do? So it's always like in my subconscious because I'm seeing it like 20 times a day or whatever. Yeah. And I think that was a good one too. Yeah, because it's just a thing. It's like sometimes even at a crossroads, I ask myself that if I love myself, what would I do? I would leave this situation. I would buy myself some better undies, like and some new socks, like just like all these.
You should put that on your t-shirts, or like
if I love myself, what would I do?
If I love myself, what would I do? Like
I've actually thought about it because I'm about to release like heaps of t-shirts with just spray painted messages on the back, and I'm like. Yeah. When will I put that one there? Yeah. Okay, that's a good kick up the ass. Cool. I'm actually going to do that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I want that. I'm getting that.
Cool. Okay, sweet.
Yes. So there's those couple. Mm-hmm. Is there any others?
I think like I think just the practice. Like every time I catch myself like beating myself up. Just changing that and questioning it. Sometimes you've got to explore where does that stem from, and that takes a lot of contemplation, a lot of journaling, getting to the root of it, having to go back and revisit it and live it. It's just like hard. Yeah, I think they're the main ones that come to mind.
Yeah, and what like right now, what are you doing at the moment? This time to what are your practices like now?
Yeah, what's actually really coming through for me with self-love at the moment is I'm currently going through a phase where I'm really getting into fasting. I think that's going to be really important for my health, especially finding out that I have polycystic ovaries. It's meant to be really helpful, but I'm noticing like I can be so headstrong and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this 3-day fast and it's like water fast. And it's like, okay, realizing that there's a part of me that doesn't really want to do that. Like I was trying to do that like today. And then I got to like, I was hanging out with, people and someone's like, does anyone want pizza? I've been craving pizza for a week, like a month. And I was like, you know what? Like if all of me isn't in on this, then like, that's okay. And it felt like I just had a voice inside me being like, it's okay. Like you don't have to like, like if you're not fully in it, like it's okay if you want to eat the pizza. Like I'm just being way more kind to myself and forgiving of myself when I don't hit my goals and my sometimes like unrealistic expectations. And so what that really is like a communication, because it's almost like there's two me's, right? Like who is the I who hates the self, such a dichotomy.
Did you see that? There was just a big thumbs up that happened then. Did you see that?
No, I saw like a flash though.
The moment you said who is I that hates the self, this like thumb just went in bubbles.
God. That's crazy. So that's freaky. Awesome. That's God being like, good one.
Obviously someone liked it.
It's like a ghost who's like, fuck yeah. It's definitely a boomer because who else uses the fucking thumbs emoji? So it's good. Yeah, but there's definitely a dichotomy where it's like, if I hate myself, there's, this tyrant that's hateful and this like often the inner child who's being oppressed and hated on. And so it's like a communication between those two parts. And I think fasting is really showing me that at the moment. And it's really given me the opportunity to, not be so hard and headstrong and not even like, oh, you failed, but it's okay. But it's like, okay, then this isn't the right way to go. And we're going to follow the path that you feel like is right, So
you know that you can. Oh, sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say redistribution of power, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, like from what I know of you can do that shit. You can double down and be that like soldier basically and get that shit done.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, and that's a beautiful quality. But then it's like also that tipping it, to balance it, to be like, actually,
Mm.
too, like it's not black and white. We don't have to do that. So I think that's beautiful. And I think that is an act of self-love for
Yeah.
perfectionists out there.
Yes, definitely. So true. 100%. Yeah.
Because some people need that kick up the bum to be able to do that kind of thing, and need to be like, you can stick to this, because like they don't stick to things. But like it's almost like the opposite, where you can stick to things so well that you've got to like sometimes tip the other way and be
Yeah.
okay with that. So
Like
yeah, that's really
it's expected of me to stick to those things, and when I don't, I have a hard time. So like it's often like an act of self-love to like fall off the bandwagon. Is that the word? The saying?
yeah,
Yeah. So I can like be okay with
oh,
myself.
bandwagon.
And like my psych even gave me that task. She was like, you have to learn, just do a bit of a shit job, you know, just give it a 80% number. And I realized how like uncomfortable that makes me, but it's like a good practice.
Does it feel uncomfortable at first, and the more you do it, does it feel liberating? Or are you at that?
Yeah, it definitely, because like I feel like I'm identifying more with that oppressed inner child, and like for example, like this year I was like, I'm dropping out of uni, like and I realized it was that inner child was like, I don't want to do this. And so I said, you know what, I honor that. And I felt so free. Like I was laughing so hard. I was a bit high, but like I was laughing. Like, I don't know if I've ever laughed like that as an adult. Like, so it's something in me just felt so free. Yeah. And I was like, and I've just reached new levels of happiness. And I feel like it's because that part of me is like getting her freedom. And like her voice is valid, and like, yeah.
That's cool. What, like, yeah, to that inner child, and like take a moment if you want to tune in or anything, but like what do you feel like your relationship is with your inner child at the moment? Like what is the inner child saying to you, and what are you saying to your inner child, or anything else you want to share about that?
I think it's hard because like sometimes I try to talk to her and I'll be like, what do you want to do? Like, what direction do you want to go in life? And it's almost like because she's never had this space, she doesn't know. So it's sometimes I feel like I have to schedule like like a week where I'm like, I'm not going to have anything to do this week, just so I can see what I want to do. Just wake up and what do I want to do? And sometimes it'll be something random, like I want to drive to Torquay and go to the beach or something like. But I think like in general, like what she needs is just like love, like just more and more reassurance, because I feel like it always had to like, I don't know, be earned from myself. Like I had to achieve something before I was let have that love. And so it's kind of a cliche, and it's kind of what I've been working on for a long time. But I think it's more like just constant check-ins and constant just like, I think I need like a kind of like inner mother loving voice, like loving, like, it's okay, baby. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like you're doing so good. Like just being more gentle with myself. And I think I've had to like develop that voice. Like I think like no matter how great your parents are, like you're always going to have more work to do, you know. Every single childhood has trauma, and so like, you know, my parents are great, my mum is such a good person, but like I think in every person's journey there comes a point where you have to reparent and just correct some things, and I think that I think that's where I'm at right now with that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Hi, Maddie's inner child.
It sounds like my
name. Do you have a name for your inner child?
I don't know why, but like little Mads comes to mind. Like,
little Mads, yes.
Yeah.
I like that. And with the next year, what are you and your inner child excited for in the next year?
I think honestly, just like what's been really monumental for me this year has been like being happy where I am, because I put so much pressure on myself. Like I need to be over there, like, and until I'm over there, I'm going to like beat my own ass. And really it's an anxiety response. Like, you know, not feeling safe or secure or whatever. I have to, you know, so I think recently what I've been going through is just accepting more and more and more that I'm okay where I am. And if I had to stay here where I am for the rest of my life, like I have, and it's actually interesting because it came through the other day, was like, I kind of talked to my inner child and said like, if I'm all my hopes and dreams or whatever never comes true, it doesn't matter, because like I get to do life like with you. Like that's what I said to my inner child. And like, that is like the blessing of my life. Like that's where all my fulfillment will come from, where all my light, like, and that's how I'm trying to actually embody that and believe that and see it, I think. And I think like being happy where I am plays a big role in that, because then I don't have to be over there. I can just be here, be happy here. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And who's your like self-love inspiration at the moment, if you have any?
Do you know who I love is like Toni Jones. Like, she's this woman who, like, she makes a lot of affirmation music, and I just love her. She's so good. Like, just some of the songs that she has, it's just like, it just reprograms my mind, and she's just so strong, and I look up to her. And she, you know, like, one of her most famous songs is like "Take Up Space, Sis." Like, it's just about like taking up space, and, like, just being powerful, and like just like I think that's like someone that I look up to. But also like Aubrey Marcus and like his entire crew, pretty much. Like, I really look up to them. Like, probably the person I look up to the most is like Azria Becker. Like, I really love her. But you know, in terms of like, yeah, self-love, probably Toni Jones the most.
Yeah. Which one's Azria Becker? Is that she part of the Fit for Service crew?
Yeah, her and her
What does she
husband.
do?
They kind of do their own thing. Like, they've just opened a retreat in Mexico, but they've written a book called Becoming, about how, like, you know, their relationship and their marriage. And like, I was always like really afraid of marriage and commitment. I never thought I'd get married. But then I read their book and I was like, oh, this is like an example of like marriage that is actually me. Not like, you know, because my parents are still married and have like good marriage and stuff, but it just isn't me. Like, and yeah, they've just been like a really great example. So they just kind of have talk on podcasts and have a book and stuff. And yeah,
cool, nice. And who are your self-love, like, who are your self-love allies at the moment in life?
well, definitely you.
Your sister.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I really have any, to be honest. Like, I know I'm not forgetting someone really obvious, but because like a lot of my friends, they really laugh at me for the affirmation music and shit that I put on, but I'm kind of shameless about it. And I'm like, well, fuck, you had to do this to like save myself, so like it's okay to like love yourself, like but I feel like they'll get there, you know. If that's their path. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like you're really good at that, just accepting people where they're at on the path. And
thank you.
Not like, I can see, not like that you can just like plant seeds and like give them a little platter of like what you do and what works for you, and then it's just like take from it what you want, but you can't force them. And like, I feel like you do that really well. Yeah.
Thank you, because I've definitely been the opposite, where I've thought, I know what's best for you, like walk on this path, and if you're not doing it, you're lazy. And it's like, no, like my path might be completely different to theirs, and you know. Yeah.
And how do you feel about like being in a world where a lot of people, if you ask them like about self-love, they'd be like, they wouldn't really know even how to explain it or describe it. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel sad, because like our world programs us to hate ourselves, you know. Like, one of my favorite quotes, I don't know who it's by, but it says like, in a culture that teaches us self-hate, like loving yourself is a rebellious act. And I really like that, because it's kind of like the system to love yourself. You know, like the way we've been programmed to hate our bodies, like just judge each other, judge ourselves. And like, I really believe that like so much like evil in our world really stems from either like insecurity or ignorance. And a lot of it really stems from self-hate, you know. And like, I feel like it'd be such a different world if we all loved ourselves. And so like, when you come across people that, you know, you can tell really don't love themselves, it's like, you know, it makes it easier to like kind of be like, all right, not take it personal, like just hate themselves. But it's also really sad sometimes. Like, I've had to let go of people because I'm like, you're treating me like shit because you have, you know, you're insecure and you have self-love problems, but I can't stay around for this. Like, I've got to go. It's so hard. But like, yeah, it's kind of a boundary in a way. So
yeah. I want to ask you as well where you're at with like a partner, or like or looking for a partner, or being ready for a partner. Like, do you feel like this time, like now you're ready if something comes your way? Like, where are you at with that?
I feel like in some ways, yes. Like, I feel like I'm really clear about what I want. And in that way, yes. But in other ways, I still feel like there's some things that I can go through by myself. And like with my health, like I'm making leaps and bounds at the moment, and I'm not done that journey. But then sometimes I'm like, well, you know, the universe might have bigger plans, and, you know, that's not something I necessarily have to put on hold before like I meet my partner. But like I do feel like I'm still kind of building my foundations a little bit. But then I do feel like if something came, I would be like, oh, I feel like most of my foundations are pretty solid. Like and like, you know, the universe would probably know better than me. So in some ways, yes, and in other ways, no. So, but then I kind of think, well, if there is even a part of me that's like, no, then maybe I'm not ready. I don't know. What do you think?
Sorry?
What would you think about that? Like, do you think it's something that you like there's a certain point where you're like, yeah, I'm ready? Or is it something that you can kind of be surprised, like, oh, okay, this is actually like the universe knows better?
Yeah, maybe like I think the universe sometimes you can't deny, like, and you'll just know if that comes. And I think like give yourself the credit that you've done a lot of healing work, and like if something does come up, I reckon you'll just know, and you'll be like, well, fuck it, we can only try.
And that's the thing, like I would never be in a relationship unless I was like, I know, you know what I mean? And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to actually be open-minded and explore something before you're there. But like if I had that feeling, I'd be like, I can't deny this. Like who's told you the universe? Like
yeah, exactly. Come on. Especially when it's so obvious. Like it's just so obvious. And even if it fucks up, you know, not fucks up, but you learn lessons from it and you'll grow. Like you do. There's like another level of growth if you're in a relationship dealing with someone else's shit in life.
Yeah, definitely. And you get clearer about what you want as well, which is always good.
Yeah, exactly. What do you want? What's your wish list?
I think like the most important thing for me in a relationship is like someone who can never be destroyed by me is a decision that I came to a couple of years ago because like I've been in relation. I know that's like contrary to the popular narrative of like I can't live without you, like, but I think I've realized that I've been in those relationships before and I felt like I couldn't leave. And I think if I was with someone who was like, I can never be destroyed by you, it's also kind of saying like I can go as deep as this love wants to go because I'm brave enough to do that and it'll never destroy me. I'll always be stronger. And that gives me the freedom to fuck up if I need to fuck up, make mistakes, you know, leave if I need to leave. And the paradox of that is that I actually would probably want to stay, you know? So I think yeah. And I think the most important thing is that's probably the thing I look for the most. And then I think also, you know, other traits is completely committed to truth, even if it hurts me, not afraid to speak their truth, which is easier said than done. And, you know, non-negotiables, they have to be kind of like on the journey and growing. And I think it has to be someone that I feel leads me as much as I lead them, who I feel like can pull me up on my ego, you know, and like help me grow. Because I feel like in the past, a lot of relationships, a lot of the things that I've learned from relationships have really been things that I've taught myself from experiences. And it's like I really want someone who can really teach me as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Yeah.
And on that, the ego challenge in the next like year or so, like or in the future, where do you feel like a niggle of like ego that you want to challenge?
That's a great
ego challenge.
I feel like my default sometimes can be I can be arrogant, but I'm not even really against that. Like, because it's kind of an overcompensation for being like so. I think my ego that I need to work on a little bit is sometimes I just presume to know better and than other people, and I think I need to learn to listen a little bit more, which would be great for the podcast as well. But yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
What about you?
And you can do that. What's that? My ego challenge?
Yeah.
I think it still comes up for me like receiving and accepting. Like I feel like I've been on a journey with that, and I get tested so much, and then I feel like I've learned how to receive, and then something will pop up, and it's like it'll challenge me, and I'll get triggered by something and be like, because I don't want to receive something.
I totally understand that.
And I've got to sometimes really consciously work on like, okay, be okay receiving this. Yeah. One example, I don't know if this is ego, but it's my dad recently my dad's given me nothing in my life, basically, like no like money. He's like real like money, like tight ass, and like real, I think he's like OCD about money. And I thought he was dying the other day because he told me that he wanted me to like buy this like Tibetan Buddhism painting artwork while I'm here, because there's a lot of Tibetan Buddhism, there's a lot of Tibetan refugees live in this area, and the artwork is like, it's quite expensive because it's done, it takes like 30-40 hours to do each piece, and I think it costs like $150 for a piece, like expensive for here. And he's like, can you buy one for me? We really want one. And he goes, and you can buy one for yourself as well, and I'll give you the money. And like, I freaked out. I just freaked out
I love how in
completely.
your head that equates to like he must be dying.
I was like, fuck, what? And then so much of me wants to run away and not accept it and just pretend I don't want one, but I do. They're beautiful. But so much of me is like struggling deeply with this like feeling of receiving. And I think ultimately this has triggered something, like, especially because it's coming from my dad, who it's like, I don't want to receive from you. You left the family, and I left you there. Like, as in, I feel like I've resolved all my daddy issues because I don't have any expectations from you, and now you're like giving me something, even if it's just this like artwork. It's like, whoa. But that's kind of a like a representation of other things. When people give me something, I find it so uncomfortable still. It's like this tension inside me. Yeah.
Do you feel like when you receive something, is it almost like you feel like it's conditional in a way, like you may therefore be expected to give something in return, or like you owe them or something like that? Or
yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. Yeah. And then I think there's a little bit of like, I think there's a little bit to be explored of like, you don't deserve this.
yeah.
Like,
So I totally resonate with that.
like who are you to be? Yeah. I find that comes up. It's like, how, like a friend, for example, when I was in London, she bought me dinner. And because she's like, you're not working, you're like literally volunteering in London, like living in London, one of the most expensive cities in the world. I'm buying you dinner. And I freaked out. But then I had to like accept it. But then I had to go and buy ice cream afterwards to buy for both of us. To be like, I'll
So
get
it
the
had to
ice
be like
cream.
equal. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
equal in a way that in my mind, and it's just like, what? It's like almost like, is it? Yeah, I need to. I feel like I explore it, but then I don't think I quite get to the roots of it.
Do you feel like you're a
Yeah.
burden? Like, does that resonate?
Um, I don't know about burden. It's almost like I just don't think I deserve it. Like I
Yeah.
don't, like I don't want to know. I think it's also this thing, my complex about being seen. It's like, don't see me,
Mm,
don't give to me. Like,
right.
yeah, it's like I don't want to be like, yeah.
Oh, totally.
And
Because
it's
it's
probably that fierce independent part of me that's like, for so long had to be so independent, and it's like, I will do, I'm in my lane, I'll get all my things and it's fine. Don't need your support. I'm not thinking that consciously, but that
yeah,
probably has a role to play as well. It's like kind of a lot of things. Yeah.
I can't
What were
come
you
to
gonna say?
dependence. Like, it's interesting. As soon as you said that, I'm like, I totally feel that, because it's like, it's almost like receiving. It breaks beneath the surface a little bit. Like you let them in more or something. Like,
Yeah. It's actually, that's true. Yeah.
and I don't know what
It's
that
like
is. If it's like
allowing someone,
is it building a connection or something? Like, or
maybe. Yeah, it's like allowing me to be vulnerable. It's like a level of vulnerability, like just
mm,
being okay, accepting that. And
mm.
yeah,
Because I feel
yeah.
like I resonate with that, being a person where it's like I give, and I've almost had this feeling in my life where I've almost had to like buy my friends, and not like in a sense like financial, but in things like I'll be the one to drive us everywhere, and like, you know, I'll be the one to just do all these things where it's almost like being friends with me had to have benefits so that people could like stay my friend. And there's almost an element of that to me, I think, because I'm like, oh, if I received, then like, you know, I don't know. I guess for me there is a burden complex where I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one to watch out for.
Yeah,
And
totally.
and I think it's like, it's a practice, but it's also like, what is the root? What is the roots of that? Like I can
Yeah.
practice when people give to me, when
Yeah.
people give, and be like, okay, be comfortable receiving, it's okay. But then it's like, yeah, what actually is resisting that receiving?
It's
Even
actually
like sometimes, and resist this really strongly because I love getting advice from people. Like I love
Yeah,
hearing,
okay.
like I love hearing recommendations for podcasts, and I love hearing things, but sometimes I find it really difficult to receive them as well. Like
Okay. Is it like
someone me, even a recommendation, like
really interesting? Like, is in like it's hard for you to ask someone for a recommendation, or if they send it to you, you're just like scared to take that in?
or it's almost like me letting go of like I can't do this. I may not be doing, like it's not mine alone to carry this journey. Like
Right.
other people come in and be like, hey, you might like this, like you should read this book. And it's
Right.
like sometimes there's this moment of resistance where it's like, don't tell me what to read. And then
Yeah.
but I love that. That's something, because on the outside I'm like, oh fuck yeah, give me all the recommendations. Like I love, and I'll take what I want and leave what I don't. Like I wouldn't want anyone to stop doing that. But something in me just like has a little moment of like a little tantrum of like, yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you've learned how to get by on your own, which you've had to do. And
Yeah.
now it's like, yeah, you don't like relying on other people, or just like even it seems like even
Yeah.
the idea of being open-minded to relying on other people is just like absolutely not. Like your protective voice inside you is like, absolutely
Yeah.
not. We can't rely on
Yeah.
other people. What did
And
they lead us
and
astray or
yeah, and it's that trust, and it's the protector
mm,
thing, because the protector one's a big one that I'm exploring now with my
mhm,
that's living in your masculine energy is the protector. And so what I'm
mm,
learning about more about the living, just like diving more into the feminine energy, is that like
mhm,
receiving, fucking
mm.
receiving.
Yes, that is totally feminine energy, 100%.
It's so feminine, and it's like fuck. When I
Yeah.
look at like everything that represents feminine energy, it's almost like, yeah, nope, nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope. So
Yeah, because we're in
that
survival
can
mode,
be
or we have
really
been.
interesting.
Yeah, I totally resonate with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I
That's
can't
really
I can't
awesome.
like when I've been in survival mode for like literally
Yeah.
from when I was 12 years old, 11 years old until like 20, yeah, pretty much 27, 28.
Mhm.
A long time to be in survival mode. So it's like it's gonna take me probably another 20 years to
Mm.
really get to like, yeah, feel like I've made a lot. Oh, I feel like I made a lot of progress now, but to really feel like
Oh, since you've been a
it's
child, like,
solid.
it's a lot to, yeah, unpack for sure. Do you
Yeah.
feel like I've heard theories that, like, autoimmune diseases are related to, like, us being in our survival mode, and that's why, like, vast majority of people with autoimmune diseases are, like, females. Um, yeah, does that resonate with you? Like
Totally. And like
yeah.
what I found with mine, and I did a bit of research in the spiritual meaning of like rheumatoid arthritis, and it was suppressed
Right.
anger. And I was like,
Okay.
yeah, but of course, I was like so much suppressed anger,
Yeah.
and I ignored it, ignored it, ignored it, and then it manifested. And it's funny because the rheumatoid came when I started healing, and that's also a common thing, is that when people start to actually like pull the lid off and start healing, because that's when the emotions shift and come out
Mm,
surface, and like that manifests into physical ailments and things.
yeah.
So like as you go along the healing journey, more like shit comes up physically. Maybe that's why there's like, for example, the vertigo. That's why I'm not really truly worried about the vertigo, because I'm like,
Cool.
it's just my body speaking to me. It's telling me something.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
wow.
uncomfortable, it's shit, but that's helping me practice my equanimity. But
Mm.
it's like it's actually speaking to me and wanting me to go into something. So yeah,
Mm, that's
maybe.
really interesting. I'm glad that you can see it like that as well. Because I feel similar. Like for me, my autoimmune stuff was like chronic fatigue, and it was
Yeah.
stress. A lot of it was stress. Like my nervous system was just completely fucking wired. Like I need to just chill out and just realize a lot of these threats aren't threats, and like go home, live with
Mm.
my parents, take away, stresses, and I healed. Like I had to like take 2 years off my life to heal full time. I'm kind of still am really. So like you know,
Yeah.
um,
It's pretty
but
amazing. Because
mm,
then would you change it? Change any of it?
no, because that's the thing. Like, and I feel like you have to learn to have a perspective where you're grateful for it, because it's like, oh, this is a sign that like I'm going off path again, and I'm going back to these old ways. Like, it's a
Yeah.
physical symptom that like I'm abandoning myself again. Come home,
Yeah.
like, and if you see it
Yeah.
like that, then you can be grateful for it. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful way to look at it. Same
Hmm.
with like is that how you're feeling about your recent diagnosis?
I feel like even though it's like something that can't be like cured, I am grateful because I think, you know, when you're being like chronically ill and you don't know what's wrong, like you almost start wishing it was cancer just so you know what it is and you can start treating it. So
Yeah.
like I think
Yeah.
anyone who's had chronic illness like understands that. So I was glad to finally figure out what was causing me this, and like now I know how to work with it. Which is like changing my diet and stuff. And yeah, like even though it can't be cured, I'm really confident that I can treat it. And it's I actually think like the whole meaning behind it is I think because it's like polycystic ovaries related to like, you know, menstrual cycle and things. I haven't connected to that part of me really yet. I've kind of really resistant to that part of me. Something in me is disgusted by it. I've been programmed by this world to just, you know, be repulsed by the feminine. Like you're
Yeah.
not even meant to talk about these things, you know, like, um, and so I'm trying to like my mum gave me this book called Fast Like a Girl, and it's about like basically how hormones are changing so much throughout the cycle of 1 month, and you know how that affects your mood, how that affects like what type of workouts you should be doing. And I changed my whole view of my life now, which is like I'm seeing life on a monthly basis now. Like, okay, first week I'm going to do cardio. And not just that, but like, okay, I'm going to feel shitter now, which means I can eat these kind of foods. I'm going to fast on these days. And it's like just seeing life through a different lens. I feel like it's going to be such a game changer for me. And so grateful for that because now I have this to carry with me through life. So yeah, I think like I'm definitely so grateful for that. Even if it's like a condition that's not curable, I think I'm confident in my ability to treat it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you've got an exciting year ahead.
Yeah, actually I'm pretty like I feel really on path, and like I just feel really happy and really good, and it's just things are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could say anything to Maddie 1 year from now, what would you say?
Just keep being pro, like I know you are. Just keep being hot.
Fuck yes.
What about you? What would you say? I'd like to ask you some questions
What would I
back,
say
like
to
you in
no,
1 year's
not about
time.
you, Maddie.
Don't want to be seen.
Um, what would I Yeah, fucking be seen. You are beautiful and you deserve to be seen, and the world deserves you to show up in your
Yeah.
full, like, highest self. So don't be afraid.
What does like your higher self look like to you?
My higher self. I think that, like, when I think about my higher self, I think of it as that pure vibration of love, and that
Mm,
just is one with everything,
mm,
and doesn't have any, like, is just this. There's no judgment on myself. There's full complete unconditional acceptance of myself.
mm-hmm.
When I connect with my higher self, that's what I feel. It's like this. I think it's like really feels like this just motherly, like, wise elder,
Yeah,
just
right.
being like, but also, yeah, it's like the connections, like that connection to all that's divine. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I'll probably think of something later and be like, oh, but I wanted to say that too. But
Yeah, I know. We can just
yeah.
like add it on. Yeah, I'll put it in the description, like put it in the description because I'd like to put this episode on my podcast. I feel like this would be good. Um, Well, like, I want to ask you some of the same questions you asked me. Like, what do you feel like self-love means to you? Like, in summary.
Yeah. I think it just means not having any judgment of myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not and like fully accepting myself fully and wholly as I am. And like
Mm-hmm.
and doing that not just in words, but actually embodying it in how I live my life.
Yeah.
So I think that manifests into so many different areas, and just being so comfortable with every part of myself, and the shadow, the beautiful part, acknowledging the beauty, and also acknowledging the shadow. I think I probably have I'm more comfortable acknowledging my shadow than I am acknowledging
Yeah.
beauty.
Mm.
Like, and so the self-love, like, yeah, not height. And for me, it's like, I think there's so many ways then that I would show up if I was like fully in my power of like pure self-love. Yeah.
Do you feel like, do you have any examples of ways in which you feel like you do embody that you didn't used to? Like ways you judge yourself less or
So many, I think.
Mm.
Like there's just I just can't think of an example.
Yeah, I hate when that happens. It always happens to me.
Ways that I see, I even find it hard to think about because it's probably not something um
I
probably
feel
not
like
something in
body
the moment that I acknowledge as much.
okay. I feel like from an outside perspective, like body image has been like one. I feel like you've made leaps and bounds with, like, from what I know, like they'll really look up to you for being able to do that.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I've definitely embraced a lot of my body, considering like how much I hated my body. And there's still like work to go, but I think it's just like, yeah, I think I don't know if this is like what was the question again?
Just like ways that
Just
you feel like
examples of how,
yeah, examples of how you have made progress of judging yourself less, basically, or yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think there's just been that feeling of if other people, like the people I want in my life, people I surround myself with, I want
Mm,
them to like I don't need that self-acceptance of I don't need acceptance of others to love myself
mm. Okay,
because
cool.
the
Yeah.
people who show up in my life will accept me as I am. Like
Mhm.
I don't need to put on a mask. Like I just need
Mm.
to be me because I want to be me so that then the people who are attracted to me for me. Whereas in
Mhm.
the past it's probably been not as much like that. Maybe a
Mm.
bit
That's a great
yeah.
one. Yeah. When
Mm.
was, like, the time of your life when you feel like the switch flipped and you're like, "Oh, self-love's important?"
I think it was definitely when I was 20, I think it was 27, and I was doing my yoga teacher training in India, and we did like some yoga therapy sessions, and one of them was crying yoga. So you're actually in a room with like 20 other people, and you're all like forcing yourself to cry.
That sounds intense.
Crazy. It was very intense, and I for the first time ever, like just like I just fully like it's like this surgence of all the hatred I had for myself finally was like flipped over
Wow.
and came out. Not that it was released, but it was like, hello, you hate yourself. Like
Right.
you've got some shit to like some healing to do. Like it's time basically. And then yeah, and then it was another sign happened in my yoga training. We did in another yoga therapy session, we did laughing yoga. And
Mhm.
so it was laughing, and then the laughing turned into crying for me. And it was and then this like the laughter turned into my auntie who passed away. And she came to me and was like, "You're exactly where you need to be. And it's time, basically. You're like, it's time for you to go here." And then it turned into crying again. I never
Mm.
cried so much, I don't think, that training. And then it was just like from then on, it was like this slowly kind of healing journey. It's like that opened up the lid and was like,
Mhm.
okay, got some shit to work with, but
Mhm.
I don't need to go there just yet. It's like this will come. And then 6 months later, I got back to Australia, been away for 3 years. And that's when it was like, bang, I was getting treated for anorexia and getting treated for, then after that, like I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis as well. And then that's when it was like, yeah, the therapy and everything I went through with
Mm.
that, like, oh, you need to love yourself. I
Mm.
haven't been loving myself. And then that was when it was like, okay, we're going to start scratching the surface and like going deeper here. Yeah.
So what were some practices that you feel like have been really helpful for you?
I think like from an early on, it was self-compassion, like self-compassion at like its like the training of self-compassion. Like I was actually during my eating disorder treatment that I got put into this self-compassion course, like that this woman, Kristen Neff, kind of champions. She's like did a PhD in it, um, and it was like a pretty profound training of like meditative and like practical practices for self-compassion. And then I still use that now.
Mm.
So definitely self-compassion, um, getting in the body and just feeling, acknowledging, tuning into what my inner child, inner self
Mm.
is needing. I think that's been pretty profound, and accepting all my parts. I think we talk a lot, you and me talked a lot about parts work
Mm-hmm.
and going in there and yeah, loving all our parts, not rejecting any of them, not suppressing any of them,
Mm-hmm.
and just sitting in that space, that dark space with them, and just finding out what they want and giving
Mm.
them. Yeah.
It's so
Mm.
interesting that like inner child seems to be synonymous with self-love. Like I didn't really notice that until right now. That seems to be common
Yeah.
with everybody, I suppose. Like in terms of like your inner child, like what do you feel like she needs? Like where are you at with her? Like similar to what you asked me about mine, like what do you feel like is yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna like acknowledge. I think she needs me to keep going deeper, because I think you can get to sometimes a point where you're getting not exhausted with the healing, but you think you've gone there and you're like, oh yeah, I've got a good relationship with my inner child, like don't need to nurture it as much. But I think it's like going to the gym. You can't just go to the gym once and then expect to be fit. Like
Right.
it's a constant practice of like, inner
Mm.
child is part of me and needs to be acknowledged every day. And
Mm.
that's and then to keep going. And this is kind of what I've been doing recently is yes, keep going deeper, and the inner child's always going to probably come up as part of that. um so yeah, I think that's what she wants, is like, don't forget me, keep
Mm.
going,
Which
keep
is so easy to do.
it is it's like you just get caught up in living, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, got it. And then you get the niggle where something's coming up, like some physical ailment or something, and it's like you go to the therapy and it's like your inner child's coming up, and it's like, you again, really?
Yeah, I thought I was done with you now.
It's like, how do I bring my inner child into like everything every day, acknowledge her every day? And I think that's what I've been doing since I got I guess motivated again to really spark up my like the passionate practice.
Mhm.
um, was doing metta twice a day with, and I actually sit there and I hold hands with my future self,
Oh,
me,
wow.
and then and my younger self, and
Mhm.
we hold hands. As like, I imagine that we're in a circle holding hands, giving love to ourselves first, and
Mhm.
then giving love out to others. So that's
Wow.
been, and then at the end, I'm just like smiling, and I'm just like, fuck yes, like this is bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool what you said about it's like going to the gym, because I never actually thought of it like that before, in that like this is a like any relationship in your life. You have to put in constant effort forever. Like and
Yeah.
I never really thought about my relationship with my inner child as being something that's like, okay, we're in this forever, but it's not like something that like, okay, I've done the inner child work and I'm done. It's like, no, I have to constantly work on this relationship like every day for the rest of my life. And it's interesting because like when I started working on this relationship with the inner child or whatever, especially when I used to hate myself, this is what helped me actually be open-minded to commitment and marriage, is because like I'm married to myself and I can't leave myself. I can't go anywhere. I've got to make this relationship work. I don't have a choice. And something about that made me understand the importance of taking a vow with another person, where it's like, I can't go anywhere. Like we're in this, we fix it. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
I think, like, obviously, you know, if you're in an abusive relationship, you know, get divorced, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, like, but I really think that there's so much power to just like, how far can we go if we don't we're not allowed to leave, you know, by choice.
Yeah.
And I think because I've had to have that relationship with myself where I hated myself, I would run away from myself. No, I'm in this. I can't run. I have to fix it. There's no choice. It's made me realize that that's possible with other people. And I wanted to ask you, like, you said how, like, really what inner love looks like to you is that you don't judge other people. Like, sorry, you don't judge yourself. And I want to know, like, do you feel like a consequence of judging yourself less is that you judge other people less?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think sometimes it's, yeah. I'll, he's like, you talk about like not being able to love truly the world wholly if you haven't fully, like, don't fully embrace that with yourself. Um,
Mm,
you can't show up with that true deep understanding of love for all beings. And I think that's that judgment part of it's encompassed in that.
mhm,
Yeah, like that pure, like, fuck, that's like enlightenment. That's like Buddha, Jesus level. But
mm,
like
mhm,
we can walk, we can admire their path and walk and try and walk on it as closely as we can.
mhm.
Um, but I think that is it. Like the more you go within, the more that you shine without. Like I think that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, shine. That's so true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel as well that, like, I mean, like, it's common belief in psychology that, like, what we hate in others often is like aspects of ourselves reflected that we don't like, particularly our shadow selves. And so it'd be such a different world if we all loved ourselves, because then we would be judging others so much less as well. And do you feel like you've actually noticed, like, any times where you're like, I used to judge people for this, but I don't anymore? Like,
Oh, totally. I don't know if I can give
yeah.
you an example really
Yeah, even
bad.
then I just thought, like, I just asked me back actually, because I can't even think of an example. Like, yeah, just ask the question.
But definitely, it's like that feeling. Yeah, it's sometimes just like you're like, oh, I don't have that pang of like feeling triggered by something that I would have been like something in me would have been activated before.
Mm,
It's just this like peaceful place of acceptance, not in every area, but in a lot of areas. And you when you notice that shift, it's like, oh, this is cool. And like I think I noticed that most after my like first Vipassana that I did. It
mhm,
was just like I came out this like it was like, holy shit, like I accept that person and that person for what, and like mostly a lot of it was like forgiving for past things as well. It was like,
mm,
I actually have compassion for that person and
mhm,
look at them with compassion and know like I really don't judge them and I'm not angry, like release, just releasing, shedding
mm,
of this tension that we carry. Even for
mhm,
people who like do horrible things.
mm,
Like I notice it in my work because I often work with some people who have done some pretty fucked up things because some of them have the most severe like mental
mm,
conditions that you can imagine and have a history of things. Um, and it's just like working with them and looking at that with just like this pure love and not judging them for it. And then
mhm,
you notice in other people then who then do judge them for it and they actually feel sick in the stomach for like
mm,
working with this person. And it's
right.
like, oh wow, I forget that people do feel that and carry that judgment because
Yeah,
something in the, and then I have compassion for them for feeling that judgment, like
yeah.
for feeling that. It's like, yeah, it's this chain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I think that's, like, it's good. I feel like I've found it's good to not judge people, but then also have boundaries. It's like, okay, you know, that's the
Yeah.
reason why you're acting out, but you still can't act out on me like that.
Yeah,
With
yeah. Like I think so, yeah, have firm boundaries because you've got to love yourself. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's like this hierarchy almost of like,
Mhm,
okay, like what am I going to sacrifice?
mhm.
If we
Yeah,
have like love, our love for ourselves at the top,
yeah,
then we show up as the best. But if we start
yes,
sacrificing that, then we're
yeah.
going to probably express that or judge in other areas of our lives as well.
That's so
Yeah.
true. And, like, Brene Brown, she did like a study. She ever spoke about a study? I don't know if she was involved in it. I think she was involved in it, but she said that they studied all these, like, good people from, like, around the world, like priests, you know, monks, you know, all these kind of people. And the one thing that they found in common is that they all had really strong boundaries. And it's so interesting how that's really important to be a good person. And I feel like Ned Flanders is, like, the perfect example of, like, a good person who has no boundaries, because
Mhm.
you don't actually teach people, like, to love themselves or to, you know, be better. Like, so Yeah, I think that's really, really important aspect as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just about filling up your own cup. I mean,
Exactly.
so
Yes.
so cliche, but it is like
Yeah.
literally is. It's like you can't give from that empty cup. Like you've
Yeah.
got to, and you've got to work to keep
Mm.
that cup full.
It's so interesting when you really embody that practice, but then sometimes it's interesting to note like who or like what experiences will make you go back on that and like start giving more of yourself, and you're like, huh, like I thought I'd really embodied this rule, but like, wow, this must be a really powerful thing that they have over me. Like, what is this? Like,
Yes, yes. Why do I want to please this person? Why do I want to give more?
yes, yeah, like, yeah, it's so
Yeah,
true. Like, why do I want to please them? Like, why do I need them to like me? Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's really interesting.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
guess,
find like that as sorry, you go.
no, you go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, I find as you go along, to when things are coming up and you're getting activated by things, it's like you just approach things more with curiosity of just like, oh,
Mm,
what's happening
mm,
here, rather than
mm.
reacting and
Yeah, that's
judging yourself and like getting shitty at yourself. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Like, what's going on here for me?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true actually, because you almost like detach from your ego in a way where it's like I feel like detaching from your ego is scary because it's like, oh fuck, that's not my identity. Like that's really scary. But then like once you've done that, it's like really freeing because then if anyone's like, you might say to someone like, oh, you did this and that was shit. And they might be like, well, you did this. And you can be like, oh, I guess I do that. Like you can detach from your ego and like, and it's like, oh, that wasn't me. It was my ego. But yeah, that's a good point. I also
Yeah.
feel like there's something about like you were saying about how if you don't judge people and you just kind of like shine light on them, like you're just a beacon of love, and you can be that in the world. There's also something that's like a bit like fuck you in that as well, like from my perspective, because it's like you're so irrelevant what you did to me. Like I love you. Like I don't know,
Yes.
which is like I hate to admit it. It's probably my ego talking, but that's a kind of a motivation for me a little bit to be more like that because it's like I don't know. Yeah,
But like, but if it's coming from an inauthentic place, like your body
that's
will
a good
know.
point. Yeah, that's so
So
true.
like,
Yeah.
but if it's coming from that authentic place, it's just like, yeah, you can't touch
Mm,
me, bitch.
yeah, I feel like
As
that has
well,
to be like a secondary, like, um, reason, not like the primary reason.
yeah,
Might be like a contributing factor, I suppose. Because I feel like I'm kind of turning a corner at the moment with that. Like, I realize how much I hold on to this poor me story or like resent people because it makes me feel like they wronged me and it makes me feel righteous and that makes me feel powerful and that makes me feel like, poor me, and there's a weird joy that comes with that. And it's like, I'm actually need to let go of that because it's holding me back. And I'm actually feeling like it doesn't matter. Like the things I did doesn't matter. Like, yes, they do. They shouldn't have done that. But if I can just, it's holding me back. Oh, come on, I've got to evolve. But then part of me
yeah,
thinks like, and if I love them, it's like a fuck you. So like, I'm like,
yeah.
yeah. But
I've been thinking a bit about the triggering other people and how off resistant I am, like how much I hate it. Like it makes me feel so like, oh my God, I don't want to trigger anyone. Like shit.
right.
But actually, I'm sure there's some things I do in the way I live or whatever that may trigger things in people, and it's actually
Yeah.
okay. Like it's actually okay to trigger people. Like
So
that
what
can
does that
shine
look
a light on something in
like?
them.
Are you scared that if you trigger them, they'll retaliate with hate or some negative emotion towards you?
Yeah, or like even just like upset them. It's like this don't upset them. But it's
Right.
like actually some people may need to be upset. I think it's because in my work that I used to work in, it
Mm-hmm.
was so important not to trigger people, to be so trauma informed, not trigger
Right.
people. Um, everything like was like really avoid that. So I think I carried that a bit in my
Mm-hmm.
day-to-day life as well. Like triggering people is bad, but
Mm-hmm.
it actually can shine a light on people because I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I get triggered, it's like, oh,
Mm,
this is interesting. I'm getting triggered right now.
mm.
Like, let's like thank you to that person who's triggered me. I can explore this in
Yeah,
myself.
right. That's so true.
It's almost a gift sometimes.
It's like bringing to the
Mm.
surface like things from the shadow. And if you can look at it from a place of curiosity rather than like, judgment, yeah, then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
this stuff's welcome to come up and shine the light on it and to
yeah,
transition it from shadow to like
yeah.
light, you know. And
And so
I think
if I do that to someone else, sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, even things like, say, people who get triggered by drag queens, like, clearly they have an inner complex that needs to be resolved. So it's like, sometimes good to like bring it to the surface. So yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Yeah. Just that you can't control. I think it's that it's
Mm,
out of your
mhm.
hands, and you can't control how that person's taking it. Like they may get upset with you and not be in like they may not like self-inquire into why
Yeah,
you've triggered them. So
yeah,
you can't control that. Maybe that's the part of me that wants to avoid it, but it's
yeah,
also like, so what? Like they might one day realize, or there's something, they might get triggered a few times about the same thing and then realize, oh, there's something
yeah.
there.
That's so
But
true.
I can't protect people from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I actually really resonate with that because I realized I have a block with like success and like even things with the podcast. It's like scary to put it out because I'm like, I don't want, I don't know, like people to hear it. I know a lot of my ideas are triggering and I'm like, I don't want to attract hate. I guess there's a part of me that's ashamed to even admit that like people who throw hate at me like does affect me to some degree and that like I don't want that. And I've realized I have a block with that, which stops me from like, putting episodes out or I don't know, trying to grow it and things like that. And it's like I've like, yeah, had to turn the corner with that and be like, they only have power over me if I give it to them, like if I can love them and forgive them because, I know they're triggered because they're, got some unresolved issues or whatever. And I think it's one thing to like kind of know that like logically, but another thing to really be like, it doesn't matter. And I feel like kind of I'm at that transition period right now, but um, yeah, it's a hard one.
Well, that can be one of your tasks for the next year.
That's a great idea.
Get all those ones out there.
What do you feel
Check it
like?
back in next year.
What are like your goals for the next year, like in terms of self love?
I think similar to what I was saying before about I've had a big realization recently that I've been living in my masculine, more of my masculine energy for like my whole life, basically.
Yeah.
And it's time to bring like nurture and I think
Mm,
my feminine's been in exile and it's time to bring her
mhm,
back from exile
mhm.
and learn like reconnect with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
I think it's going into more it's physically going into that space because I felt what I learned was that I was numb in my like womb area. Like I didn't have any sensation in there. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like I did like realize that a lot when I just did the Vipassana recently because you're supposed to be just focusing on body sensations. And I was like, holy shit, I had to spend so much time bringing up sensation in my womb area. And then that brought up so much shit from like that,
Right.
like actual, like in the breaks when we weren't in the meditation, I'd have like things coming up from my past that were just like trying to come up to like the surface of like, you need to deal with this, you need to deal with that,
Yeah.
da, 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 da. And
Mm,
some stuff that I don't know why, but so I think working then intentionally like with body sensations because like I guess and practicing and just having a consistent practice of the Vipassana practice because I feel like that naturally for me works really well at bringing things up to the surface and like basically dissolving them through the practice. So
mhm,
I don't have to know what they are, but and then also I've been recently working with a therapist doing a shadow constellation work, like family
mhm,
constellation work, like with my womb area, with my inner child, inner teenager, all this shit that I haven't unpacked.
mhm.
So really powerful. Yeah. So I think that I think I want to do for the next probably lifetime, but I think in the
Yeah,
next year
literally.
especially, like
Yeah.
I
It's
think
hard with oh, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say yeah, it's like you can't ignore it when like right now I haven't had my period for quite a long time, like at least 6 months. And it's
Mhm,
like, well, something in there is screaming out for some things,
yeah,
like attention, like physical things that come up is like, okay, what are we gonna do? Yeah,
mhm.
connect with you. So there's a bit of work to do there. I think that's gonna keep me busy.
Do you feel like is it like the way I said like earlier how there's almost a part of me it's like repulsed by like that whole area of like the femininity, I suppose. Like, does that resonate with you?
I think it was I've definitely felt that. Yeah. there was a time when I actually did dabble in when didn't have my period for like 7 or 8 years, and when I had the eating disorder and everything. So I took a year off exercise and like complete the exercise, and I was like an exercise junkie, and
Wow.
deliberately gained weight to get my period back. And so
Wow.
during that time, I realized how repulsed I was by. I was like almost wore not having a period as like this kind of badge of
Yeah.
honor. Like I have
Right.
period. I don't
Yeah.
have to like I don't have to connect with that feminine sexuality stuff. Like what is that? It's like my
Yeah.
hormones just weren't there. And then I was going into that, and I was like, oh shit, I'm a woman. I'm a
Mm,
woman. I've rejected being a woman essentially. And
mm.
from stuff the way I've acted in the last however many years, like this has led to this point. Like I shut down on myself and was in my masculine protector mode.
Yeah.
So now
Why do you think you like shut out of your feminine, like, and was happy about that? Like,
I think it was suppressed stuff,
yeah.
trauma
Okay.
stuff, that trauma
Yeah.
stuff, like that I
Yeah.
hadn't resolved, like unresolved trauma from like sexual abuse and from the way I treated my body self in my like 20s, and
Mm-hmm.
the way, yeah, like I think also the wanting to reject the female, um almost like a fuck you to to patriarchy and like the society of like, I don't want to be a woman has all these expectations on her.
Right.
It's like
Okay.
it's like I don't need that. I don't want that. Like I don't want
Yeah.
to have to conform to this shit. Like
Mhm.
so not having my period and not feeling like feminine was like this, like, oh good, like that's my, like I don't have to relate to that. If that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Totally.
But obviously that's not what um that in my mind, that's how I was thinking then, but obviously that's still there. Like there's still so much to be resolved there. Like at that
Mhm.
time actually got my period back after 8 months of doing that, but it slipped away again. So it's like, okay, there's still some work to be done there. So I'm
Right.
kind of approaching it in a different way, rather than physically it's like I'm going to go more inwards, because that during that journey I think I was too sensitive
Mm-hmm.
to going really deep at that point to these issues. Like I feel like, that when you're going and healing, there's there's so many layers to it. And I
Yeah.
feel like you can't get to certain layers.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you ever have this where you're like, I know there's something really down deep, but I know I
Mhm.
have to get like these like layers like removed first before I can go to that deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then it comes out. So this feminine thing's been with me obviously all along, but I haven't
Right.
been able. It's like I've been invisible to it because there's always other things that I needed to resolve first, and then
Yeah.
now it's just like, yeah, you been basically ignoring your feminine, so it's so important. I've started belly dancing,
Oh,
so
cool. That's awesome.
because we were talking about body image before, I still had a really complex relationship with my stomach area,
Yeah.
and that came up from it was coming up when I was in London, actually. It was like, oh, this is coming to the surface a lot more, like some of these issues. And then now I'm like, just something in me when I did this womb healing thing, it was like, it got this message at the end of it. It said I needed to do something like dance wise to reconnect with my body and my feminine. And then the next
Yeah.
day
Right. That's cool
came up
as.
on yeah, this thing came up on Instagram, and it was like this Indian fusion belly dance. So I went and joined that, and now I like, after staring at my stomach in the mirror for like 6 hours worth of dancing classes that I've had, I'm like, I fucking love my stomach now.
That's
Like
awesome.
it's so cool. So
That's
just I
awesome.
think embodied practices that like, yeah.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like dancing for me is something that helps me embrace my body, and two helps me embrace my feminine, like brings my feminine out.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
Yeah.
interesting because like in summer, like I you've literally walked in on me doing this, but like I will like get high, sit in the backyard in like my bikini or my underwear, and just like it's interesting because like when I dress fashion, I never wear jewelry, but like when I'm having those days out in the backyard, I would just wear like my bathers with like every piece of jewelry I own, and I would just like dance for hours, like half naked,
So
like,
good.
and that's been so healing for me, like such, like makes me love summer, like just being able to do that. Like, um,
Yeah.
do you feel like it's even like hard to talk about? Like, was it ever something that like you never would have been even able to talk about? Like, even saying the word period used to be weird to me, which is just
Oh,
like,
totally. Yeah.
yeah,
It's so taboo in a
it
way.
is.
Like, and I think more so body, yeah, period. I think I got better. I think I got used to talking about it. I remember at the time I actually put something up on Facebook about it. And it was, I know
Right.
I don't usually like do that sort of thing, but I was like, you know
Mm,
what? I'm gonna like put this out there.
mm,
And yeah, it was amazing like how many people responded to it and were like
right.
celebrating that I was like going on that journey and like men, so many men commenting on it, like old men and like young men and friends like reaching out to me separately and just like it was such an amazing like wow,
Wow,
cool.
that's
I
cool
feel
because
like
that's,
I
no, you go.
normalized it a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
it does. That's why I talk about it too, because it needs to be normalized for sure. Because it's something that I feel like if you just say the word period, like guys are always like, ew, like I don't want to fucking hear that. And it's just like, first of all, if you're a guy and you're afraid of the word period, like I just think you're a fucking pussy. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do if a robber comes to the house? Like, you're afraid of a word? Like, hope the robber's afraid of the word too. No, I'm just joking, sort of. But anyway, but I feel like it's such a representation of the way that like femininity is so oppressed that we can't stand that energy within ourselves. Like the way that we, like our culture sees the feminine as something dirty that's like to be shamed, and like
Mm.
we're not allowed to talk about it because it's disgusting, you know, like we're repulsed, just the word, you know, it's so interesting. So it's like, yeah, trying to normalize it.
Yes, definitely. All for
Yeah.
that. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. When I get my period back, I'm having another period party.
Yeah, like that's sick. Yeah.
I think like last time when I got my period back, one of my friends gave me this big plant and it was like had little red flowers. She's like, it's the only red like flower plant I could find, but here you go.
That's
It's
actually
so
so
good.
funny. That's so good.
And now when I was getting my period, like I had it back for like 2.5 years. So every month I would just celebrate. I'd be like, yes, and
Right.
have this
Wow.
like
Yeah.
I'd call my mum sometimes and be like, is it's here again?
Yeah. Wow.
Anyone
That's like
anyone who'd
wild.
listen, I'd be like, let's celebrate the period.
That's like so
Um,
great. I'm so happy about that because I feel like I kind of get what you mean when you say the badge of honor. Because when I was like in high school and I had like pretty bad eating disorders, like never anorexic, but like I stopped getting my period as well for like long periods of time. And it was like, I loved that because it's like, that's how like anorexic I am. Do you know what I mean? Like to me, it was like, that's how skinny I am. Like, and it's so
yeah,
fucked up thinking about that. But like, yeah. And like, I'm at a point now as well where just like, I'm so just embracing my cycle and stuff. And like, I'm so curious to like learn about it. And it's just so weird that I've come to like this place because I never thought, you know, I would get here really. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And in like, if you could summarize like your relationship with your body,
Mhm.
like your body image at the moment, what would
Mhm.
you summarize it?
I have a preference, and it's okay to have a preference, I think. So, like, I prefer myself when I'm like a size 10 or like maybe around like 70 kilos, right? So, like, when I got sick, I got to like 90 kilos, and that was really hard to accept myself. But I think I had to go through that to accept myself at my quote unquote worst. But at that time as well, it's like my knees hurt. Like I couldn't go for a run without taping my knees because I was like just so fat that like my knees like couldn't handle it. And so it's like, okay, like I'm uncomfortable in my body. I miss not fitting into my clothes. Like it's okay to have a preference to be like a size 10 at 70 kilos again. And so like my weight loss now has been like kind of slowly, but it's like I feel like I've had to learn to enjoy myself at every stage. And so like, you know, when I was at 80 kilos, that's when I was in the backyard in my bathers, like dancing my ass off, like, and enjoying it and embracing myself. And it's like I'm still losing weight. I'm at about like 76 now. I'm still losing weight, but like I'm still like have a preference to get back down to 70, but I'm learning, I'm taking my time, I'm patient with it. I'm not having eating disorder mentality where it's like I'm gonna lose 20 kilos in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like 10 weeks was really what I used to aim for. It's like, okay, like I'm at 76, I might stay here for a little bit, then I'm gonna, you know, move down again. But I feel like I have like I love myself at 80 kilos way more than I ever did when I was like 62, you know, ever, like 100%,
Yeah.
like in my heart. And I've really learned to like find the beauty in myself and embrace that. And it's like, I really believe, I think shaving my head taught me this too, is that like, I really believe that like beauty honestly comes from within, and you have to learn to see your beauty. And once you learn to see your beauty, you teach others how to see your beauty. And every single person has that. And you've got to learn to see it for yourself and teach others how to see it. And every single woman should believe that she's the most beautiful woman in the room, because they are, you know. And I really, really believe that. And I try to embody that and try to like teach that as much as I can. But it's a hard thing, because I'm always going to have that inner sort of voice. I'm always going to look at my stomach and criticize it. I'm always going to hate myself on certain days. Like I've just accepted that that voice is always going to be there, and I'm going to lose to it sometimes. The programming is just too deep. But I've made fucking leaps and bounds where, like, yeah, I'm pretty happy where I am. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize how far you've come and celebrate that. And then like when you have that, when that critic comes in, that used to be so
Yeah.
to just feel like, yeah, I see you there, and you know, you can get me when I'm tired, you can get me when I'm like having an off day, but like overall, it's they're beautiful words. I like
Yeah.
that about you. I think with
The word?
beauty, I think there's a delay that keeps chopping in. That's why we keep cutting in on each other. I think with body image for me, I think it's almost like I felt like I'd come so far with things, and then there was just this like this little end bit that was like holding me back from really feeling like I could truly, I think this is the feminine stuff, really,
Okay.
because I think it's like there was something in me that was getting like, why aren't I there yet? Like I
Yeah, I was
really,
never there. Like I feel like,
yeah,
I don't know if this resonates, but for me with the eating disorder stuff, I was never there. I never, even if I hit my goal weight, I was never there. You know, it was always 5 more kilos, 2 more kilos, like whatever. I was never there.
yeah,
Like,
right.
is that kind
Yeah,
of what you
I
mean?
think
Like,
no, I think I mean I was like on the other side of it, like in terms of healing and like
right.
and feeling like why aren't I there yet with like fully accepting
Oh,
my
okay.
my
Yeah.
body
Okay.
and like and myself with my body image. It's almost like
Yeah.
um and yeah, I think now this like feminine, stepping into the feminine piece has really been like this is gonna, I think this is gonna really be profound for me and my journey, because like I think a big thing holding me back was my stomach area. And it was like, why the fuck do we is like people so
Mhm.
like why are we being so conditioned to like hate our stomachs so much? Like this is
Yeah.
just it just seems like I don't know, I want to understand that more. Like what is
I
it?
feel like we just pick
But
like the most unobtainable thing and like set that as the standard, you know, like, or
yeah,
something like
it's
that.
like what is it? Why? Who's so attracted to that? Like, why is it so attractive? Like,
Yeah.
so because I don't know, for some reason now I'm finding, now I'm just like touching my stomach and like feeling it and just like loving it so much. So
Mm, mm.
that's been really cool. I think as I step more into this feminine stuff journey, I'll I think I'll really truly learn to feel my beauty, because I think I think being in India has really helped me. I think this has been like where I feel like I just feel so free to be myself and to
Yeah,
like leave
cool.
the house however I want. But I feel like when I'm back in Australia, like there is still that little niggle of like, oh, I've got to like be a bit more presentable. And
Yeah, okay.
but then
Right.
that's okay as well. Like it's hard for
Mm,
me. Like I don't want to do my hair. I don't want to put makeup on. I
mm,
don't want to. Like I want to just show up how I want to show up. And
mm.
for me to truly do that when I'm back in like the normal kind of life environment, and feel totally comfortable with that, like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I love like the Indian clothes, like because they're like so goddess. You know what I mean? Like if I was over there, I'd just be wearing like all like the like goddess gowns around my head and
Yes.
like just like go ham, like
Oh,
embody
I
the
wish
fuck
you were
out of
here
that.
so bad. That'd be so cool. I saw a girl today and she was wearing like the most crazy thing. Like she had like this like lion backpack that she was wearing, walking around with. Like this, like she was probably at least in her 40s. And she's walking around with this top, like showing her belly, her beautiful belly, and this lined backpack and this like thing on her head that was like, what the fuck is that? But this is awesome. Like and no one blinks. You don't blink because it's just
That's
like,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's just the vibe here.
Yeah,
It's so
that's
cool.
why I moved from Torquay to Geelong,
Oh.
because like in Geelong nobody like does a double take at you. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Where I feel like in Torquay it's
Especially,
like judged.
especially now, yeah, especially in our area when you go to like Woolworths supermarket in Newcombe. It's like, I love that supermarket. You can
Oh,
wear
that's so
whatever the
good.
fuck you want
Do you know
and
what
just
I'm
like feel
obsessed
like,
I'm obsessed with the reject shop at the moment. It's so good.
yes.
Like I'm so glad that shopping centre has a reject shop. It's like one of the only places I can go there and just spend what like just buy anything I want. And it's like $50 like in total.
Yeah, I know. It's
It's a
the
bit off
best.
topic there, but yeah.
On that note. Oh, I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
That
That
is,
was good.
that's
Yeah, it was
good.
really good convo.
So good. New moon Cancer. Yes. I love it.
Yeah. What's like some quick themes, like a couple words on the themes of this moon?
I think it's I really feel, and like this is just Cancer in general, but it's like it's going within. It's really coming home to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
coming home to like what's unconscious, what's in the subconscious that's been sort of sitting there that needs some light shone on it that you can go into, and just taking the time to actually be with that and see where that goes, especially because it's a new moon. So it's like, where am I going to take this going forward now? Like, I think that's what's come up for me mostly, in terms of feeling into the energies of like Cancer, because it is about what's beneath the shell, really.
And you're a Cancer
Yeah,
moon as well, aren't you?
I am. So it's been a big one for me. There's been lots of,
Yeah.
I think it's been a really
Yeah.
potent time and tumultuous time for me. Like, it's been pretty intense. So we'll see what happens next year. The new moon.
Yeah,
Anything
interesting.
come up for you this moon?
It's kind of funny you say like, yeah, this home within myself, because I mean, that's been a theme for me all year, but yeah, really just been like realizing how much that my desire, a lot of the things I'm chasing is really just anxiety, and just really appreciating everything I have in my life and just being happy and feeling like I've arrived. You know what I mean? Like finally feeling like I've arrived instead of always chasing or improving or,
Yeah.
so that's kind of the main thing. I'm like, yeah, entertaining right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And I think, yeah, with mine, it's like that home, feeling this home, like physical home away from home where I am, and celebrating that, and like feeling like the coming celebrate. I guess Cancer like themes like coming into the water energy and this, and like the womb and the feminine. That's what it's
Oh,
about,
yeah.
and about receiving. Like, it's coming
Yeah,
to that
true.
receiving place. So that's been really cool for me here to just have this like, yeah, this is, and it's like right at my peak time of exploring all this stuff. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll stop the recording now.
Okay, bye.
Stop recording.